Good evening, comrades. I think we must start now. Amandla, this thing of COVID, it's a problem. I can't even visa you. Comrades, we are now starting our program. We must just apologize for the late start. We are delayed for a few minutes. However, now we are starting. Let me then take this opportunity to greet the president of the organization.
We're losing you, Comrade Mabuto.
He's muted, President.
Please unmute yourself, Comrade Mabuto.
It's a challenge, President. We will get used to these things. I was saying we are now starting with our program, and I must apologize for the late start, Comrade President. But very quickly, I must greet the President of the Union, Comrade Mahope Mapila, the GS of SADTU, Comrade Mugwena Maluleke, and also in his absence, because he was to join us, whether he joins us in person, because he's still busy in a meeting, or he sends a video or somebody to represent him. But allow me, comrades, to greet His Excellency, the Honorable President of the Republic, Comrade Cyril Ramaphosa, who is also expected to give a message of support in our celebration. Let me greet all the former leaders of the union that are joining us, Comrade Duncan, Comrade Fundi, Tulas, and many other comrades that I might have not seen. The international guests, our friends and international fraternal organization, greet the National Working Committee, the NEC. Let's also greet our federation and the alliance partners. I'm just greeting you, comrades. I'm not welcoming you. The president of the union, Comrade Mahope Mapila, will actually welcome you. I think that will be the procedure. Mine is to facilitate this session. Therefore, I'm not intending to take long. However, we are here to celebrate our 30th anniversary of uninterrupted struggle as Teachers Union. With those few words, comrades, and those greetings, let me not take much of your time and then hand over to the president of the union to welcome all of us. My president, you are invited to welcome the guests and the members of SADTU to this celebration. Over to you, President. Comrades, let's just bear with us for a minute. There are technical glitches that our technical team is attending to for the welcoming address of the President. We shall start with the singing of the national anthem.
We can see it, but President we can't.
Running. Okay.
Thank you. That was the national anthem. Then we'll get the recording of the welcoming address by the president.
Greetings to all our structures, that is, site committees, BECs, RECs, PECs, as well as the National Executive Committee. On behalf of the NEC, let me take this opportunity to welcome you all to this virtual celebration. Today, the 6th of October, 2020 marks the 30th anniversary since we were established on the 6th of October in 1990 at NASRA. At that time when we were established, we were 30,000 members. But today, we can look back with pride that we are now 265,000 plus throughout the country. Yesterday, the World Teachers' Day under the theme Leading in Crisis, Reimagining the Future. Leading in crisis because of COVID-19, which has disrupted teaching and learning throughout 2020. Before I forget, let me take this opportunity to wish speedy recovery to all those infected and mourn those that have passed on. At the beginning of the year, we were thinking that we're going to celebrate our 30th anniversary throughout the provinces. We started in January, Northern Cape. In February, we went to Northwest. However, we could not continue with the celebrations as such because COVID-19 had put a lot of restrictions on us through COVID-19 lockdown regulations. Since we were established 30 years ago, we fought for recognition because apartheid government did not recognize unions. In the interest of collective bargaining, we established PSCBC, which is Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council. We also established GPSSBC, the General Public Service Sector Bargaining Council, as well as Education Labor Relations Council. We went on to fight for the improvement of working conditions of our members and represented them as and when the need arose. We fought for equal pay for equal work, which means men and women are now paid equal salaries, unlike what was the case during apartheid. Maternity is now recognized. We also had a program on HIV and AIDS when we were bedeviled by that pandemic, and we now have a wellness program. We also have, as a benefit, a benevolent fund, 10,000 through South African to all our members, even when they have retired, once they pass on. We have a cell-stop vehicle tracking, which is a car track for, let me say, a reasonable amount cheaper. We went on to engage in recruitment and retention of our members, hence so many numbers, 265,000 plus. We're fighting against privatization of education. We also fought vigorously against essentialization of education. Not that education is not essential, but that essentialization would have denied us the opportunity to use our bargaining power when the need arises. The only serious setback we have now of late is the non-implementation of PSCBC Resolution 1 of 2018 in the entire year. And any attempt to reverse the gains we have made will be met with the challenge it deserves. We need to improve on government employee housing scheme and continue to instill organizational discipline so that the organization must be as united as it is now and continue to grow even stronger. That said, on behalf of the National Executive Committee, let me take this opportunity to open this virtual celebration and welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. Comrades, friends, that was the welcoming words from our President. NgesiXhosa bathi sesingakhulula ibhaji sihlale sinethezeke. We can take off our coats and feel at home now that the President, as the political head of the organization, has actually welcomed us. We thank the President for those words and reminding us of where we come from as an organization. Allow me then to call our General Secretary, Comrade Mugwena Maluleka, to actually give us the purpose of this virtual celebration. Cheers.
Good evening, Comrade President and the Program Director, and good evening, our President, Comrade Mapila, and the entire National Working Committee and the National Executive Committee as the host of this marking of our 30th anniversary. Comrade President, we would want also to greet all our invited guests and His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Comrade Matamela Ramaphosa, and all those who have joined us via the YouTube, Facebook, and the Twitter, as we have invited all our members to be part of this particular event. The President has addressed us and welcomed all of us and indicated very clearly that we were not able to have a mass celebration as we have planned. And now, because of that, we are celebrating this under a webinar, and obviously it has got its own restrictions in terms of time that we should be spending here and so forth, because people don't want to be glued to their screen forever. So, Comrade President, allow me to just be very brief to say what is the purpose today. First, it is that the program has got segments, and those particular segments, we wanted the members to know their National Executive Committee, and the purpose would be that we will engage with the National Executive Committee and the National Working Committee in the form of introducing them, but clearly informed by the history of our organization. So therefore, it will be very interactive instead of just listening to the speeches and so forth. That's the first. purpose of this particular event is because we want our members out there and those who are not our members who are watching to know the leadership of our organization that have built this organization over the past 30 years. And then having made it this big and large organization that we have today. That is the purpose basically of this particular event. Secondly, my president, is to ensure that we hear from few of our former leaders. Our intention had always been that we are going to have a big celebration in KZN. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we couldn't do that. So therefore, we will have messages of support. However, those messages of support will then be covered under what we call a documentary so that we are able to address the issues and so forth. We will hear from the President of the Republic, Comrade Matamela Ramaphosa, addressing us as well as we celebrate this milestone of 30 years of our existence. And then we will also, as part of the purpose today, have one of our staff members to say a word or two about the 30 years of our anniversary. And then we also would have, the purpose is also to allow our fraternal organization, our sister organization internationally, and our student alliance in the country to also have few words about our 30th anniversary as we celebrate. So the purpose basically is to have a very interactive and exciting celebration on the webinar, because we were not going to be able to do gatherings under the restriction of the COVID-19. So my president, that is in short, our purpose today is to mark this milestone in a webinar format together with all our members and our international friends and comrades all over the world who will be watching. And we will still, I must indicate, the National Executive Committee, my president, has resolved that we will have still, after this COVID, still have a celebration. It is not the end of the celebration. We will still be engaging our members. They must feel that they are part of this organization, and therefore they can celebrate in whatever traditional choirs, in traditional poetry, in whatever games that they would want to have. So for the whole year, we have resolved as the National Executive Committee that is a celebration year of our 30th anniversary. So with this webinar, it's not the end. We'll continuously on our Facebook, on our YouTube, be flighting the National Executive Committee members with messages of support, with messages of hope, with messages of encouragement, with messages of building resilience throughout the year. We will then be doing that because that is what we have resolved, that we'll do that. So my president, that is the purpose. Let me not take much of your time. You have given me 4 minutes. I have used 3 minutes. I'm giving you 1 minute as a bonus, my president. Amanda, thank you.
The president is muted. We can't hear. Okay. Muted again.
Comrades, let's welcome our Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, Comrade Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa. Rolo Chaba, President, and so we want to introduce you to our National Executive Committee. Comrade President, we are aware that you were busy today in the African Union as the chair of the African Union. We want to thank you for the time that you have given us. We want to immediately, without any waste of time, allow you to address us, President. Over to you, my President. Let me not do a long speech of introducing you, because this is a webinar. You'll still have time after the COVID restrictions that you have put to come and address your teachers and your education workers, because we know that you love education with with all your heart, and you have believed in education. Hence, you have been sponsoring a lot of students who are studying universities and those who are studying in the high schools in our country. Welcome, our President, to the webinar celebration of our 30th anniversary. Over to you, President. You will unmute yourself.
Thank you very much. I welcome this opportunity and extend my greetings to the President of SADTU, Comrade Mapila, and the General Secretary of SADTU, Comrade Maluleke, and of course the leadership of SADTU at various levels, and indeed the leadership of COSATU and the Alliance. Comrades, allow me to congratulate the South African Democratic Teachers Union for reaching a great milestone. For 30 years, SADTU has been mobilizing, organizing, agitating, and leading the educators of our country in their struggle for better conditions of employment. We congratulate you for reaching this point, because we understand too well the great difficulties of organizing and leading people from vastly different backgrounds and worldviews into a very progressive, militant, effective union of teachers in our country. In the course of the history of our democracy, many organizations have been born with great hopes, only for them to fall into decline or become irrelevant in the face of the various contemporary challenges that they have had to face. We can all be proud that 30 years later, SADTU remains strong, united, effective, cohesive, and a union that unites the teachers of our country. I cannot emphasize the importance of organized formations of workers in a country with a history such as ours. The workers organized by SADTU, our educators, are key to the reconstruction and development of our country. Yesterday, we celebrated and marked World Teachers' Day. It is a time to appreciate the important role teachers play in nurturing our children and equipping them with the skills they need to make a positive contribution to society. I therefore wish to pay tribute to all the teachers of our country who work under very challenging and difficult circumstances. You are true nation builders, and the work you do is greatly appreciated. Your dedication to the success of our children and the future of our country has been proven time and time again, but more so during the COVID-19 pandemic. For the sake of our children and their academic progress, you braved the dangers and the risks posed by COVID-19 and returned to the classroom when asked to do so. I appreciate that some may have been understandably and justifiably reluctant to return. Nonetheless, you did so because your passion for education triumphed over fear and anxiety. We remember and pay tribute to those teachers who have succumbed to the virus and those who are still not well. I also wish those who are infected a speedy recovery so that they are able to return to work, to do what they love most, namely teaching our children and nurturing them to be the future builders of our country. Government is committed to the safety of all our educators and learners, as well as of all the support staff in our school environment. We will continue to do everything in our power and within our means to ensure that your safety is not undermined. We will continue to provide our teachers with personal protective equipment and all other support that they need to teach successfully and safely. At the same time, I urge you to continue to be vigilant. We must keep ourselves and others safe by continuing to observe the regulations around social distancing and good hygiene protocols at all times. We are acutely aware of the many other challenges that make it difficult for our teachers, educators to do their work. We are working tirelessly to resolve problems in our schools with regard to infrastructure, namely on issues such as sanitation, water, electricity, proper and safe classrooms, as well as access to adequate learning materials. We must work together to rid our schools of violence that threatens the safety not only of learners, but also of our educators, because many of them have been subjected to violence, and learners have also been subjected to violence. And we must work together to eradicate violence in our schools. Schools are meant to be places where young people learn, happy places, places where they must go in with a smile and leave with a smile that is underpinned by knowledge. SADTU must play a decisive role in the development and implementation of a comprehensive strategy to eradicate violence in our schools. These great challenges, which we are determined to resolve, continue to be a stain on our collective conscience. SADTU has been very vocal about the urgent need to resolve them, and we thank you for that. And also the role the organization can play in doing so. This is consistent with your role as our partner in transforming our education system and eradicating the inequalities that exist within it. I also urge you to lend your full support to another challenge that threatens to reverse the gains of our hard-won democracy, and that is the scourge of corruption. I'd like us to join hands in the fight against corruption wherever it rears its head, and let us report and expose corruption wherever we see it. There is a continued pressure that we all face from our people about eradicating corruption, and we must respond to what our people are saying in relation to eradicating corruption. Let me also reassure you that the government takes very seriously the rights of workers, the rights that were won through struggle. I want to state unequivocally that our democratic government is totally committed to ensuring that the rights that you won in your struggles as workers will not be devalued, that the rights that you fought for, rights such as collective bargaining, the importance of collective bargaining, that it should never be undermined, is a right that we recognize, and a right that, yes, we want you to be clear that we will not seek to undermine. We say this so that you can be assured in your minds that we will want to protect this right, we will want to advance it, just like you do. And in doing so, we want to work with you as a union so that our collective adherence to collective bargaining should be something that encourages you to continue to play the role that you play well as the educators of the nation, as nation builders, and as nurturing the children of our country. There will be challenges along the way that we will encounter. But I believe that whatever challenges there may well be, we will be able to address them and resolve them. That we will be able, through negotiations, through discussions, to resolve them. For we are all engaged in the important task of building our nation. Currently, we face enormous challenges, and one of those is to ensure that we rebuild, reconstruct, and transform the economy of our country post-COVID. And in a little while, we will be outlining a plan of recovery, a plan of reconstruction of our economy, so that we can effectively, together, address the ravages of inequality, of unemployment, as well as poverty. COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on the lives of our people, and it has also wreaked havoc on the education system as a whole. And we'd like to thank you for continuing to be focused so that the year is not lost. And that is why we applaud you as our educators, that despite what COVID-19 has brought about, you are willing and prepared to pick up the task and make sure that our children, our young people are educated. On our side, we will want to work with you through your various formations, your federations, your unions, to ensure that we do rebuild our country going forward. And this is a task that we believe that we can engage in collectively and be able to resolve the challenges that our nation faces, the challenges that you as workers also face, the challenges that various households in our country face. You are now 30 years old as a union, and the message of hope that I'd like to put across to you as an effective, revolutionary, forward-looking union is that there are many, many, many more tasks that lie ahead, which the nation expects that you as SADTU, as the teachers, the educators of our nation, will be able to shoulder, that you will be able to nurture the next generation of our country. And you have already proven that over the past 30 years, you've been able to produce educated young people, you've nurtured them, and you've made a great contribution to the building of our nation. And I urge that you continue to do so, because your role as the educators of our country is far more greater than many people begin to imagine. It is possible that sometimes you may think that you are not appreciated, but I want to assure you that indeed you are appreciated. And today, at 30 years old, we want to say, long live SADTU, continue doing the work that you've been doing, and keep your union united, progressive, and effective, even as we deal with the various challenges that our nation and our people face. I therefore wish SADTU many more years of unbreakable service to the educators of South Africa. I wish you strength, I wish you fortitude, and I say happy birthday, SADTU. Long live. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable President, for the address and the kind words to this celebration of SADTU. We also really appreciate that you availed yourself. And we note with interest your promise that collective bargaining will forever be protected. Thank you very much, President, for the address. We will then continue with our program, comrades, ladies and gentlemen. We are now going to be calling for the messages of support from former SADTU leaders.
SASCO strongly believes in the Student and Worker Alliance. SADTU members don't only grow and mold all students within the basic education sector, but they help shape and prepare all children. SASCO strongly believes in the Student and Worker Alliance. SADTU members don't only grow and mold all students within the basic education sector, but they help shape and prepare all children, inclusive of children of the poor and the working class. It is SADTU that ensures that the Black child isn't exploited and abused at work. SADTU has proven its dedication to the cause of education over the years. SASCO would lastly like to wish SADTU a happy 30th anniversary.
We want to wish happy birthday to our teacher union SADTU. And we are proud of SADTU. They fought many battles for their members. We want to say to them, they must continue defending the working class. They must continue to be strong. And we know they are.
Right now, we can call for the documentary of such.
Thank you very much for those messages of support from our alliance partners in education, your COSAS, as well as SASCO. We are now calling upon a documentary about the history of SADTU that is going to be streamed. Our technical team can stream it now. Comrade Cindy and Olane, documentary.
On behalf of the National Executive Committee, let me take this opportunity to open this virtual celebration and welcome you all.
Today is the 6th of October. Let's celebrate the day.
SADTU leadership and cadres, congratulations on reaching your 30th anniversary.
Happy birthday and congratulations to both the leadership and the membership of the union.
Such a great joy for me to bring you this message of support in the birthday of SADTU.
Yesterday was a World Teachers' Day under the theme, Leading in Crisis, Reimagining the Future.
Let me contextualize the celebration under the pandemic. That as we celebrate today, 1 million people have already succumbed to the pandemic.
At the beginning of the year, we were thinking that we're going to celebrate our 30th anniversary throughout the provinces. We started in January in Northern Cape. However, we could not continue with the celebrations as such because COVID-19 had put a lot of restrictions on us.
We've continued teaching and learning where children haven't been going to school. It's not something we imagined could have happened a few short months ago.
The pandemic has shown us that there's an education for the elites, there's an education for the middle class, there's an education for the poor.
Let me take this opportunity to wish speedy recovery to all those infected and mourn those that have passed on.
The 6th of October is a very historical day for me. It's a historical day for a member of SADTU. It's historical for the people of South Africa. Nelson Mandela, our first democratically elected president, said when we launched SADTU in 1990 that SADTU is the beacon of hope.
At that time when we were established, we were 30,000 members. But today, we can look back with pride that we are now 265,000 plus.
SADTU was born out of the education and the anti-apartheid struggles. And together as teachers of South Africa, we built for the first time a mighty non-racial democratic teachers union.
Nationally, there were political developments that were leading towards a non-racial democracy.
Union is formed for two things. A union is about advocacy, where we advocate for the needs of our members, where we advocate for rights to be respected.
SADTU was built on the following principles: democratic centralism, worker-controlled militant trade unionism. Professionalism, understood to mean the need to transform the education system and to build people's education.
It's about representation. It's about dispute resolution mechanism. It's about how we represent their needs, how we are able to ensure that their rights are respected.
Unions on the shop floor are the ones who are protecting the rights of the workers.
We felt, I think, there was a need, firstly, to establish a discourse about a national education system with a national teachers union as part of that, and an organization, indeed, that was founded on the notion of a national, non-discriminatory education system.
Some of the milestones that we have then been able to register since the integration and the deracialization and democratization was really to deal with recognition of unions.
The big moments for me in SADTU is when we signed the unity agreement, all teacher organizations across the race.
Having democratized the institution was the launch of what we call the South African Schools Act.
In the interest of collective bargaining, we established PSCBC, which is Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council. We also established GPSSBC, the General Public Service Sector Bargaining Council, as well as Education Labor Relations Council.
Many of the female teachers were disadvantaged, even if they were highly qualified, highly skilled, highly experienced. They were disadvantaged because of the patriarchy in our society.
That's why teachers today, they must never ever forget those rights.
We have to run programs like teacher development programs, where we launch our Ketis Nkondo.
For the first time, all the unions in the public sector or in the public service united and went into a 2-day strike.
All these particular things that we've been able to achieve had always been about our unity as an organization, but also working with other stakeholders.
The biggest struggle that we had is that we didn't have enough women in leadership.
We also fought vigorously against essentialization of education.
As a class, a movement, and a nation, we are facing huge political and economic challenges.
Also had challenges when it comes to our benefits as women.
We had, of course, a very solid platform of a large number, an increasing number of progressive teacher unions that had been set up around the country.
Many of our members, 1992, 1993, were suspended from the education system as we were fighting for the recognition.
Those days we're fighting for the right to make permanent the temporal teachers.
We needed to address that in terms of gender parity. So salaries must be equal, irrespective of being a male or a female teacher.
The right to collective bargaining, the right to represent our members, the right to negotiate the salaries.
For the workers to work under an environment that is very conducive, where they are not afraid of raising their issues, where they can always be able to protect their rights. However, SADTU is sharpening its tools, SADTU is sharpening its representation in order to ensure that it represents the members in those particular sectors.
There were strong arguments raised by, in particular, some of the established teacher organizations. They wanted to join and be part of, but they wanted a federal structure. They wanted a high degree of autonomy. They wanted to retain their own identity in some ways. And really what we saw, the continued existence of racially based organizations.
We've come a long way when it comes to the struggle for gender in the union.
The environment was what you can call male dominant, patriarchy.
We are born out of a political struggle, and therefore the issue of the political transformation of the country is very important.
The culture of the union has to change so that women at all levels can feel at home.
We went on to fight for the improvement of working conditions of our members and represented them as and when the need arose.
It's not just the issue of non-sexism, but also the issue of non-racialism.
These were things which occupied us nationally, and certainly I think it created enough of a common platform.
The issue of benefits which others are offering. I hope we had started with that. I hope those benefits are growing.
We also had to negotiate better deals for our members in terms of them being able to afford life covers, education policies.
We also had a program on HIV and AIDS when we were bedeviled by that pandemic.
And so forth. And we have negotiated a lot of leaves for our members, hence the organization grew. Because we didn't have paternity leave. We didn't have a maternity leave.
SADTU must remain focused on its mission.
There's a reason for us to celebrate our existence. There's a reason for us to say, yes, we have been able to transform education to a certain extent, and therefore we must move forward.
If those full-time substitutes are doing their work, the union will continue growing.
We really need to guard against encroaching corruption.
SADTU has demonstrated it from the inception that we will stand against anyone who is against trade union rights, who is against our human rights.
Congratulations on your anniversary. We look forward to many more years to come.
The organization must be as united as it is now and continue to grow even stronger.
If we cannot be able to improve the working condition of the teachers, it means we are denying our country of the skills we're supposed to be giving them.
As we celebrate these 30 years, I want to congratulate each and every one of you for holding on to the union.
Happy birthday, SADTU, happy birthday. Long live SADTU, long live. Kula SADTU, kula. Long live the teachers, long live. Long live the workers, long live. Amandla.
Thank you very much indeed, GS. Happy birthday, SADTU. Happy birthday, Kula SADTU, Kula. After this item now, I'm going to invite the General Secretary to come back and deal with international messages of support. Comrade GS.
Mangbongo Ndosi for handling the segment where we're receiving the messages of support from our former leaders. So welcome. Thank you so much, Comrade Mabut. And now we will deal with the international messages of support. And as we deal with the messages of international support, we must have listened to what Comrade Tulas have said, and Comrade Duncan and Comrade Fundi. All of them were talking about the importance of ensuring that the union remains united. And the union is a product of a political struggle, and that it is based on international solidarity. And therefore, we have got partners and friends and sister organizations, fraternal organizations all over the world. And as the president was indicating to us, that one of the fundamental issues about our union is that we need to advocate for the needs of the members as well as the issue of collective bargaining. I must indicate some of the organizations that have sent messages of support were there for us from inception. Remember very well that the British Columbia Teachers Federation from Canada was very instrumental in terms of what we have today. What we have today is full-time shop stewards and negotiations, which was fully funded by the British Columbia Teachers Federation, and they trained us in negotiations, and they trained us in the issue of the constitutions and the acts. I remember very well that this international organization like the AFT were there in our history when we're dealing with the pandemic of HIV/AIDS. That SADTU was there from the inception and were very instrumental in terms of defying the apartheid of government to have this. So let's receive the solidarity messages from our international comrades and compatriots as we celebrate this particular day. And I hope that from that, then we can understand this organization and how it began. Our president says we're 30,000. Now we're 270,000. Congratulations to all of you. We love you, the teachers, our lecturers, our members in the support personnel, and ECD, the most important structure of our organization, the great R. Now let's beam the international messages. Thank you so much.
Comrades, brothers and sisters of SADTU, it is indeed a pleasure and an honor for me to speak to you on your 30th anniversary. Congratulations, Magope, Magwena. What a great leadership team. What an important time for leadership. We just finished our World Teachers' Day celebration on October 5th with a 24-hour round-the-world celebration of teachers and their unions. We heard from world leaders, we heard from teachers themselves, unionists, our brothers and sisters in multiple movements. And although I'm a little tired, I have to say, couldn't imagine doing it any other way. We had to let the world know that teachers will take the lead at this moment of COVID-19 pandemic. Just like you have always shown us, SADTU, for 30 years. 30 years standing up in the face of adversity, speaking truth to power, not letting hate take over you, but allowing a vision of a new world that can be built out of the ashes, to set your minds and your hearts, to let the solidarity fill your blood, and to work together across races, across communities, across languages, to build a new South Africa. That new South Africa is where you find yourselves now, also with the scourge of COVID upon you. I'm sure you would rather been together celebrating all that you've accomplished over these past 30 years. I wish I could have been there with you too. I will be with you someday. However, until then, I think there's some important things we need to keep in mind. No one is coming to save us. We are the ones we've been waiting for. That is exactly what leadership in times of crisis means. That's exactly why we have to stay focused, and we have to keep our values front and center. We need to keep focused on the most vulnerable. What this pandemic has shown is that we are not all in this together. There are some that are quarantining or isolating behind high fences in palaces, and others who are huddled together in shanty towns and shacks. Those are those whose rights we must speak for. Those are those who we must shine a light and say enough's enough. We must speak up as you've always done and defend gender equality, inclusion, fight for climate justice and racial justice, fight for democracy. We have to be the beacon. We have to show the way. This is our time. This is your time. Absolutely, what you've accomplished in 30 years is simply amazing. Your brothers and sisters in the trade union movement, your brothers and sisters in the teacher trade union movement, in the Education International and beyond, are always with you. We've always been part of the struggle with you. And now we're in this global struggle together. It's a struggle to defend public education, democracy, our profession, our society, and our rights, and the rights of everyone who lives with us and deserves to have a voice in a better world. So, October 6th, the day after World Teachers' Day, 2 great days to commemorate World Teachers' Day and the anniversary of SADTU. They are sitting at the beginning of October. This October 6th, in the name of all of Education International's members and all of the teachers and the unionists that they represent, we send you solidarity, congratulations, greetings, energy, strength, power, support, and respect, because you so deserve it. We're with you. Be with you soon. Congratulations on your 30 years.
Greetings, comrades. I'm Harvey Bischoff, President of the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation in Canada. On behalf of our over 60,000 members, it gives me great pleasure to congratulate SADTU on the occasion of your 30th anniversary. SADTU and OSSTF have had a long-standing relationship, which has included completing a curriculum resource entitled From Canada to South Africa, Combating HIV/AIDS Together. Our partnership has been strengthened further through visits by SADTU leaders and staff to our annual assembly and leadership training conferences. Members of our executive board have also attended a number of your Congress meetings over the years. Our 2 unions have shared resources and expertise regarding site stewards and workplace representatives training. Throughout the many years of cooperation and solidarity, our 2 organizations have always related to each other with the utmost respect and friendship. A few years ago, I was able to witness firsthand the dynamism of SADTU leaders during your National General Council at the opening of your SADTU village. It was made more remarkable by the fact that Cyril Ramaphosa was present and enthusiastically supported in his pursuit of becoming President of South Africa. Personally, I will never forget the warmth with which we were greeted and hope the opportunity to gather together again will soon present itself after this current pandemic crisis has passed. The fact that our 2 countries and unions are separated geographically by a great distance will never weaken the bond that we have established over the past 2 decades. We stand with you in your struggle for a democratic and decolonized public education system and congratulate you once again on your anniversary.
It's my great pleasure and honor to congratulate you, SADTU, on your 30th anniversary. I know we have a long and proud history together, beginning in 1993 when our unions first met and began working together. You're celebrating your 30th anniversary. So proud to have worked so closely with you over the years, and so proud that you are working so hard to support your members and to continue to advocate on their behalf. And we are proud to be celebrating this day with you as well.
Comrades, colleagues, and friends, Education International Africa Region is pleased to join you in celebrating your union's 30th anniversary. This is a significant milestone in the history of this great trade union. SADTU has grown from those humble beginnings in the 1990s to become one of the biggest and strongest trade unions in Africa and globally. Colleagues, your struggle against apartheid and the subjugation of the majority of your people through education and other spheres of life is well documented and a lesson for us all. Inasmuch as the apartheid regime used education to oppress your people, today you can use education to liberate and empower your children. Mandela was right when he said education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. We'll continue to look up to your leadership, solidarity, and support. We count on you to continue helping us and union colleagues across the continent to build united and stronger education unions. Unions that are a force to reckon with, and the voice of women and men in our classrooms at all education levels. Thank you once again for inviting us to join you in celebrating SADTU. We wish you many more and successful years ahead.
I am so honored to be with you and to acknowledge the exceptional work you've done over the last 3 decades, promoting human rights, workers' rights, and democracy. You've worked tirelessly to build a democracy post-apartheid, and every day you are fighting for a more just and more compassionate South Africa, where your learners, our learners, can thrive. I'm so honored to mark this occasion with you and to take this moment to appreciate the transcontinental solidarity we have built over the last 30 years. It's become our job to fight for our learners, our communities, and ourselves when it comes to making sure our schools are safe. Over the last 30 years, AFT and SADTU have been able to connect our learners, map HIV infections amongst teachers, challenge the hijacking of public education by charter schools, and work together to fight for justice. I celebrate our solidarity, and I look forward to the next 30 years and beyond.
The South African Democratic Teachers Union, SADTU, has demonstrated beyond any reasonable doubt its commitment to fighting for teachers' rights and safety in South Africa and beyond. As you therefore celebrate the 30th anniversary on the 6th of October 2020, the Lesotho Association of Teachers, LAT, commends you very much for the indelible marks you have made in your struggle. We wish you a successful celebration amidst COVID-19 and wish all workers in South Africa safety and good health.
30 years ago when your union was founded, it was a huge step forward. Indeed, as Nelson Mandela said at the time, a quantum leap for the democratic movement and for the struggle in the education sector. 30 years of struggle and the face of that education sector has been changed for the better. We believe that education should be for the benefit of society as a whole, not for the enrichment of the few. We, in the National Education Union, stand shoulder to shoulder with you in the South African Democratic Teachers Union, as sisters, as brothers, and as comrades.
Yeah, Teachers Union of Malawi is really happy and pleased to hear that SADTU is celebrating the 30th year of anniversary, and we are in support of that union. TUM, as a union, as the mother body of the teachers in Malawi, is in support of that union, and we always celebrate when SADTU is in celebration.
We would like to congratulate you for attaining 30 years of existence, and in these 30 years we know you have worked hard to make sure that you attain higher levels in representing thousands and thousands of teachers in South Africa. You have worked hard to bring solidarity, to bring hard work, to create an environment where our members feel safe and feel represented. As Zambia National Union of Teachers, we have collaborated with you, and in many ways. And one of those is in the ICT programs. You have labored to support us, and we are very grateful. Even as you reach 30 years, we look back with great gratitude. We look back with certainty that we have more years to work together. The experience you have gathered in these past years gives you even more vigor to work hard. And for us, we will always be with you. We will always be committed to support you. We will always be available to work and to support your leadership. We are very grateful, and we are saying, celebrate. Together we will do it. And in this way, solidarity, solidarity forever. Viva SADTU, viva Zanut. Viva SADTU, viva EI.
Thank you so much. We are now about to have a very interesting discussion. Having listened to the international solidarity messages, solidarity, solidarity, solidarity forever. Now is the time that our members, young and old, know the leadership of their union. And the leadership of their union will start with the National Working Committee. And as we begin with the National Working Committee, so that we then say we become being part of this history and part of this thing. Now, I want to go to the Deputy General Secretary, Comrade Nkosana Dolopi, hailing from the Northern Cape Province, having been a convener of education in the province, played a very instrumental role in developing the South African Schools Act in terms of dealing with the curriculum. So he has been there as the provincial secretary of the province of the Northern Cape, and now the Deputy General Secretary of our organization, Comrade Dolopi. The question to you, and you know.
It should not be a difficult question.
Yes. It will not be very difficult, but it's what you were living it. First, Comrade DGS, we have a theme of the Congress where we're restoring the character of our organization. But the most important part that I want you to go to is when we're saying that teachers are revolutionary professionals and they are agents of change. Can you tell us what is to be a revolutionary teacher? Thank you.
Thank you, General Secretary. Thank you, President. Good evening to all the leaders of the union. Look, General Secretary, we must start from appreciating the fact that education is not ideologically neutral. I mean, that's the starting point. We then have to trace that argument from the point that missionary education had a specific purpose that it had to achieve. In the case of missionary education, which was the first formal system that we had in our country, it was about converting, it was about changing Blacks from being owners of land to becoming workers. That was the bad thing about missionary education. It changed us from owning the land to be workers of the land. Secondly, we then had a second system of education, which was the apartheid Bantu education. That one was about superiority of a white race and inferiority of the Black race. So in its ideology was about superiority and inferiority. Then came our own education system post-1994. Ours was geared to a developmental state, towards achieving a national democratic society, an efficient, a capable, effective developmental state that had to address the needs of the society. Now, for you to be able to achieve this national democratic society, you then come to the point that you are raising of a revolutionary teacher. It is only a revolutionary teacher that will be able to assist us to achieve this objective of a national democratic state. A revolutionary teacher will be the one that knows that coming early to school is a revolutionary task. A revolutionary teacher is somebody who would know that to prepare and teach on a daily basis is a revolutionary task. A revolutionary teacher will know that we need to protect and love our children and not abuse them on a daily basis. It's through that contribution of a SADTU member that you'll be able to move towards achieving the national democratic state. Thank you, Jess.
You have cheated me. What did Kekovara say about revolution? Come on, TJs.
No, the two of us were discussing the other day the question of a committed cadre. We were discussing the question of a selfless teacher. We were discussing the question of a sacrifice. And then we had to relate to an episode in the revolution in Cuba, where when Cuba was approaching achieving its freedom in late 1959. So in the battle, we had a situation whereby one soldier, Che Guevara was a commander of a certain group, found one soldier sleeping. And that was in the middle of the battle towards the freedom of the Red Army, the Revolutionary Army in Cuba. So Chair was very, very concerned when he saw this one soldier of the Red Army sleeping. He asked him, why are you sleeping in the middle of a battle towards achieving freedom? The soldier responded to say, no, it's because I ran out of ammunition. They took my weapon. Chair was so angry. He then said to this man, you must go and join the front line as unarmed as you are. So the soldier had to go, he joined the front line and he fought because the instruction was that you must go and get a weapon from the enemy forces. This guy went there, got an arm from the enemy forces, but got hurt. And in the process of that, he ended in hospital and unfortunately he died. The moral of the story, GS, is that in any revolution, a revolutionary is somebody who goes out of his own way, out of his comfort, somebody who's selfless, somebody who's prepared to give more of himself for the bigger cause. And the example of this story that you like so much of Che Guevara is about that. It's about sacrifice. It's about our teacher saying, as a revolutionary, you must be selfless. The other one, just as I'm concluding, was in the same revolution towards the freedom of the Cuban people, was that you used to have a group of people, a force called the societal squad. Now, this societal squad were people who were prepared to die for the cause. And I'm trying to emphasize this point of the importance of a revolutionary. So each time somebody died in the societal squad, he had to be replaced. All the soldiers in Cuba wanted to be part of that societal squad. And they used to grieve. They used to want to cry if they were not elected to serve in the societal squad because they wanted to be martyrs. They wanted to die in the struggle for the freedom of the people in Cuba. So we want that kind of teacher, yes. A teacher who, when he does not come to school, would grieve. A teacher who when he does not teach, he would cry because he will see that as a betrayer of a cause towards achieving this national democratic state, a capable one, effective one, a one that will then change our lives of our people for the better. And that's our contribution. Just thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Our revolutionary tasks we have had from the Deputy General Secretary. Now we would want to move forward. Thank you so much, DGS.
Thank you, sir.
I want to bring the Deputy President back. I want to bring the Deputy President as a scholar back. Now I'm moving from what the DGS has said, building a developmental state. Now, two things are required when you want to build a developmental state. It is that you need to have a political administration that is oriented towards servicing the people. So emphasize the word people. And you then have to have a public service that is oriented towards serving the people. Now, the DGS said that that is a revolutionary public service that serve the people. Now, we have a resolution and a theme, Comrade Kele. You can now unmute yourself because I'm conversing with you, myself and you now. Comrade Kele. Now, there is a theme of SADTU talking about decolonization, that we need our dignity, but we need to decolonize education. So, Comrade, in 2-3 minutes, my president, how can we advance this particular project of decolonizing the curriculum in order to address that which the DGS said, that we are moving around with a feeling of inferiority, we are moving around others with a feeling of superiority. Over to you, my president, Comrade Kele, decolonization. That is your theme.
Yes, although I did not get the question, because the minute you started raising it, then I was disconnected and connected again. But I hear the last part of the question that you are asking me as to what is my view of decolonization. I'm sure that we must start from appreciating that at some point we were decolonized as a people in South Africa. Now, decolonization or colonization came with a lot of indoctrinating. Your Bantu education, trying to indoctrinate us in a particular way. They used education, Bantu education, to colonize us. They used religion to colonize us. They use content in our curriculum to decolonize us. In fact, like the DGS will have said, education is not class neutral, is never neutral. So education in this instance is used by the colonizers in order to subjugate us. Now we then have a responsibility to decolonize ourselves. My understanding of decolonizing, without putting it in any order of preference or importance, GS, is the acknowledgement of indigenous knowledges, is to acknowledge that indeed in Africa, we have our own science, we have our own knowledges. How then do we appreciate that and ensure that it finds expression in our curriculum, it finds expression in our education system? The question of language, JS, is also for me very important when we are decolonized. I think studies and research shows that a learner who is taught in his or her mother tongue is on a better position to be able to perform better in the classroom as compared to the one that is actually taught in a foreign languages. Now, how then do we develop our languages for the purposes of teaching GS? I'm not talking as a linguistic, because that is where we confuse it sometimes. We want to protect isiZulu as if we're talking, I'm talking about isiZulu for instructional purposes, which means that GS, when I'm teaching using a mother tongue, I don't have to say to a child, unande, if I mean a triangle. I must say a triangle because that language is used for the purposes of instruction. I don't think at home we use terms like unande. We use a triangle. Now it then becomes easy. There is this thing that is called borrowed words, amabizo mfakelo. When I'm teaching life sciences, I must say chlorophyll and not say uhlaza, because that confuses children even further. We use, because photosynthesis is a Greek word, for instance, GS. Photo, it's a Greek term or Latin word meaning light. Synthesis, it's a Greek term meaning putting together. And it was borrowed from Latin to English. That is why we're photosynthesis. We do the same in isiZulu, for instance. We say, that is my understanding of decolonization at GS. So decolonization, it means we must review our books, we must review our methodologies, we must review our epistemologies, use our own African epistemologies to develop knowledge and then to be able to advance that teaching. I think we can use education to decolonize ourselves at GS. It must also, as I conclude, GS, ideologically, is to actually instill in us the love for ourselves and that Black people are not inferior at all, GS. Because if we want to decolonize ourselves, we must also decolonize ourselves psychologically at the level of the mind. Our education system must be such that we decolonize ourselves from the mind to be able to continue and decolonize ourselves, as I have indicated, yes. I don't want to take much of your time. You can ask a follow-up question if I have not covered what you will have preferred me to cover, yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much, my president. I'm not going to ask because I'm looking at the time. I want to then move from what you are saying. Now you have Lucky Dube, who says that liberating from mental slavery, okay? Now, what I understand, I want to move now to the Vice President for Gender. Can I have the Vice President for Gender somewhere? Comrade Tutu, can I see you? Can you unmute? I want to have a deep conversation with you. Okay, let me see if I can find Comrade Tutu. Thanks, Comrade Deputy President. Now I want Comrade Tutu to converse with me. Comrade Tutu, are you there to converse?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. Look, what the Deputy President has just said in terms of decolonization, that when your mind has been damaged, okay, and apartheid racism has damaged our minds, and colonization has also damaged our mind. And we must be outraged by what we see today in terms of gender violence. It has got a history, it has got an origin. But in few words, how can education play a role in really fighting against gender violence? President Ramaphosa has just said, we must do it. He said, we must develop an integrated program to making sure we eradicate gender-based violence in our school. Over to you, my president. You have got 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Over to you, my president. Thank you.
Indeed, General Secretary, we must appreciate this opportunity to can air our views and maybe put our views out there. The President of the country, His Excellency, would have spoken strongly against gender-based violence and requested and invited us as SADTU to be part of a process that will want to eradicate GBV in schools. But President, President Mapila, as you also are here, it should also be proper that our very government assists us in terms of fighting gender-based violence in workplaces through their ratification of the C-190, because that convention was signed last year already, and our country has still delayed to ratify that convention. It is our view, General Secretary, that safety in the workplace can also be strengthened by our government having to ratify the C-190 as signed last year by some countries. Venezuela has already signed it. We were of a view that South Africa would have signed it as well at this point in time. But of particular importance in the organization, we need to up our game in terms of ensuring that we bridge the gap in terms of bringing equity in terms of females and males in the organization, because that gap exists. If you go to your executive or the decision-making structures in the organization, they are not properly represented, and truth be told that there's male dominance there. 30 years down the line, Comrade General Secretary, that must change. It must change, because we can't have an NEC that still continues after 30 years to be dominated by male. When the female comrades consist of 69% within the organization, but they're still underrepresented in all decision-making structures. We request that as we move forward, that matter must be zoomed into, and we appreciate the work that was done by the organization, that at the level of PECs, at the level of ROPs, the PWC, the NWCs, we have a 50-50. But in my view, GS, I'm thinking it is not adequate. We can still move forward a bit in that regard. Thank you very much.
Ngiyabonga mntwana kethu. Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Yeah, ngiyathokoza kwamambala. Look, VP, now I have got to move to my friend Comrade Fasiha. can I have Comrade Faseha interacting with us and our members at home as part of this particular history? Now, Comrade Faseha, what programs do we have that are run by Curtis Nkondo? Now, remember what Comrade Dudu has just said as our Vice President for Gender. It is that education is fundamental in terms of changing the mindsets in order to deal with these issues. And the issue of patriarchy is an issue that we have got to confront. We must be outraged around issues of gender violence. Now, curriculum has got to be changed. The Deputy President says, decolonize the curriculum. Can you give us few programs that you are running and that the organization has run in order to empower our members over this particular 30 years through the launch of Curtis Nkondo? Over to you, Comrade Faseha. Can I see your face? Can you unmute yourself and unmute your video? Is she disconnected? Wow. Okay, we will not wait. We will not wait. We will now go to the National Treasurer. Siswam, Ntwana Nkosi, awungiyakubona wabamhle kanje. Ndivele ukuba bowunganayo nale t-shirt ye-anniversary kuthiwa boyifuna ebhutwini yami, ayihlale ebhutwini yami ama t-shirt. Welcome, my sister. Now, we have built this organization for over 30 years. We were 30,000 in 1990. Now we're 270,000 and we're celebrating. Now, as the treasurer, we know that there is SADTU. What is SADTU offering? And in your view, how can we make sure that teachers fall in love with SADTU? Over to you, my sister. Wabamhleka ngaka?
Ngiyabonga mnakethu. You know, you and I belong to a certain generation, a generation that says when a woman glows, there's something in the oven. So think about it along those lines. That was on a lighter note. Thank you so much, Comrade Nopala. Greetings to the leadership and the members of SADTU that are watching from all the media, platforms that are available. But I think importantly is that we must also appreciate this opportunity to be part of this history, or to be part as well of this celebration of the organization wherein SADTU has grown, SADTU has turned 30. But importantly is that we need to ask ourselves that we may have grown, but our growth needs to be visible. It needs to resonate within the benefits that we have for our members. Comrade, yes, as part and parcel of the membership benefits is that SADTU as an organization during the 8th National Congress, SADTU took a resolution that said we need to establish a SADTU cooperative, a cooperative that will be forming part and parcel of the benefit of the members, but with the view, a long-term view of establishing a SADTU bank. So now, as part of that is that SACO as a cooperative bank at this stage, importantly is that we've been fortunate as an organization. We have had it, it has been launched. It belongs to the members. The members of SADTU are the owners of the SACO, and they have to ensure that they take the ownership that they have to do. It is theirs, they took the resolution, and they have to ensure that they take it forward. Now, sitting here today, celebrating 30 years for the organization, the 30 years should resonate as part of seeing SACO growing as well, because it is our decision, it is us who took that decision to say this is where we want to go. We have seen and we have made studies of other sister unions, more especially from our international friends who have established such, who have banks now that belong to teachers, wherein even communities can be in a position to go there and bank, including the teachers themselves as members of the organization. They can also go to an extent of having their salaries be deposited by the employer through the bank that belongs to your own organization. So SACO currently what is offering, Comrade GS, is offering a savings opportunity where members can be able to save. They save there, and after saving is that they can also have Christmas savings. We understand as teachers how important it is for us whenever we approach the festive season, and then we look at our pockets and then we do not have enough. But SADTU is giving an opportunity to the members to deposit money there on a monthly basis, little as it can be, but believe you me, at the end of the year, you are going to see something that has grown. You would have deposited something that is small, but it's going to grow big. And then when you sit there, you can be able to look after your family during the festive season. You can be able to have something in your pocket as part and parcel of what you would have saved. And then when you look at that, you are going to say, this is me, I made it myself. This is my union that made it possible for me to have what I'm having today. We know, GS, without any further waste of time, that it is not easy for us to find ourselves saving, but utilizing this opportunity, we can be able to save. Thank you so much.
Ngiyabonga mnakethu, ngiyabonga kakhulu, ngiyabonga mntwana enkosi, ngiyabonga. Thank you so much. We power of the numbers, the power of the numbers, saving together so that we take the economy into our own hands. As the teachers, let's teach ourselves financial literacy. Thank you to our treasurer. Now, we growing the organization. I want to talk to our vice president, SACO, Comrade Nolita, one of my specialists in terms of fighting in terms of representation. But I'm not going there today, Comrade Nolita. Today, we want to take it from what the treasurer has said. Two things that we can do through SACOM to grow this organization from where it is over these 30 years, and making sure that through that portfolio of SACOM, which is sports, arts, and culture, we can encourage, collective savings, using our power to making sure that we are able to achieve economic freedom. So two things that you can do. How are you going to do that using your portfolio, Comrade Nolita? Well, it's like she is being cut. And that is a raw thing, what we call raw English, because Mabutu talks about the languages. Comrade Nolita, I can see you now. Come on, you can take over. Just 2 minutes to say before I bring the NEC.
No, thank you, GS, and the session. I think GS, one of the strongest. I think yes, what is key in this portfolio is the principle of mass involvement and mass participation of our members in all our programs. And I think that in developing programs that are visible for them, that would ensure that they get involved. You'll recall that not all SADTU members want to sit in boardrooms and talk, but they do want to enjoy themselves in programs of sport and music and all that. And we think that in those programs, GS, if the organization can ensure that they develop saving schemes that would ensure that over and above the expected numbers in terms of how many per province should bring, they are then able to develop schemes that would ensure that they come in their numbers to celebrate SADTU, for instance, in the coming 30th anniversary, whenever they have to be hosted. So if we can develop saving schemes over and above what Comrade Lindiwe is saying, the general saving schemes, the Christmas saving schemes, but then we develop saving schemes for members wherein they put money so that when they have to attend SADTU programs, over and above what the organization will add, but they are always having their own money so that they can enjoy. So we think that if we can develop such programs wherein they will be involved. And also, GS, it's a known fact that there are still challenges in ensuring that sport is accessible to the majority of learners in the country. It's a known fact that some of the sporting codes are only privileged for the few. The majority of our schools do not have sporting fields. And we think that, yes, we have to do a whole lot more in ensuring that our members get involved to transform those areas where there are still bottlenecks and ensure that the majority of the poor, of the poorest children do benefit. We think that if we can try by all means, GS, to save whenever we can to broaden the numbers of members who participate in these programs, we would have gone a long way to grow SADTU because they enjoy them. It's a known fact that they enjoy them. When they are hosted, they come in their numbers. So we must go a long way to come out with creative programs, creative saving schemes, creative saving measures that would take the organization forward. Thank you, Jess.
Now, because of now we're going to introduce the president to answer his question in a different way. We want to take him back where he loved to do things nicely. Cindy, help me now.
Media can come in, the media people can come.
Thank you so much. Now we are bringing the president and we want to tell the president to enjoy the comfort of his seat. Now, we want to remind our president about 2014. Comrade President, now you have been leading this organization. It's now 270,000 members. Now, President, what makes an organization to be so intact, so cohesive? And that's what you were saying in 2014. Can you remember what you said in 2014 when you spoke to us to say the adrenaline must go down? Over to you, President. I'm not giving you a lot of time because you have spoken when you were welcoming us. Now, I'm in charge, by the way. 2 minutes, President. Unity, organizational discipline. What can you say, President, that has built this organization? Duncan is here, is listening as the former president, and Comrade Tulas might have also joined. Thank you, President. Over to you. President, unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Am I unmuted now? Can you hear me? Oh, yes. Thank you once more, GS.
thank you, Leadership Collective, NEC members present at this 30th anniversary celebrations. Our 265,000 plus members at home watching this on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you for the opportunity once more. GS, we're looking forward that in the coming decade, when we will not be there, because we appreciate the fact that leaders come and go, but the organization remains. We're looking forward that SADTU village should have been completed, and Curtis Nkondo should be in full swing here at the SADTU village. Because we have enough space, and we must build a teacher development center here at Curtis Nkondo, that we must take education struggles forward. But you see, we were 30,000 then. Today we are 265 plus. To me, it's quality versus quantity. We will have to work very hard to make sure that the membership we have, big numbers as they are, quantity as it is, it has to be strengthened. We need quality membership. But for us to achieve that, capacity building programs for quality leadership that will produce quality membership, it's very important to us. Trade union education, revolutionary morality is disappearing now of late among many of our structures. Political consciousness is a challenge across the board in the Alliance. We have to rekindle some of these things. And recruit and retain members and reach, at least in the coming decade, 300,000 plus members, but of good quality. And service those members, service them. And service them in such a manner that they come first and we come, because it can't be correct, GS and the Leadership Collective, that we have some of the structures that miss it, in the sense that they think by getting into or jostling to get into positions, they are waiting stations for deployment. That shouldn't be the case. Members first. When deployment comes, it must come as a by the way, but members must come first. It must not be that you get into the BEC or in the REC or so on to make sure that you are going to choose post level 4, post level 5, and so on at the expense of the members. You must and make sure that they come first, members first, and members first. And in that way, SADTU will remain strong and strong and strong, and be able to reach the numbers that we're speaking of. And lastly, we have to be innovative. The economic situation is bad, but there is this thing of government employee housing scheme. If we get it right, why is it that you are able to buy a house, a car of 500,000 and more in 3-4 years, but with a house of the same amount, you have to pay for it in 20 years. We need to change this. It has to be changed. That said, long live SADTU, long live. Thank you.
Well, my journey started way back in 1995 when I joined SADTU as a teacher, when I started teaching. And then in 2003, I became a branch gender convener. Then thereafter, in the second term, I became the deputy secretary of a branch. And then in the next RBGM, then I was elected as the regional gender convener. On behalf of the staff members, I will say the message to SADTU as a union, as a biggest union, as it's always been the biggest union, as it's always been the choice of teachers, I will say I wish them all the best, and I wish that the teachers could always see that there is no other union other than SADTU that will always fight for their rights. And us as staff of SADTU, I wish we could always keep to our commitments to ensuring that as the behind the scenes, we always keep to our commitments to ensuring that we serve our leaders, we work with commitments and the passion to ensure that whatever it is that they want to, whatever goals that they want to achieve, they achieve with us assisting them. So I would say to SADTU, continue to grow, continue to prosper, and also, yeah, I wish you can remain there for many years to come.
Wow. Wow. We have our staff member who represent the staff in the negotiations and in terms of helping us to have a motivated staff. Now we are changing the segment. We are changing the segment, and thanks to the members who are joining through the YouTube, the Facebook Live, and many other platforms. Now, thank you so much, Comrade Brenda, for wishing us to see many years to come. We have our 2030 vision. Now we're going to Limpopo. Limpopo, you have got 2 minutes. And we just want you to stick to growing the organization through the litigations that you have been fighting. You have been in court and you have been doing very well. How best can we improve from there? Limpopo, come in, 2 minutes. So Limpopo, are they still trying to connect? Okay. No, it's Limpopo. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, we are connecting GS. You know, network here can be very problematic.
Yeah, then you must buy broadband.
Yeah. No. Thanks, GS. You remember one of the areas where the union organizes, maybe taking a cue from what the president has been saying, how do we move from quantity to quality? And what is our primary mission as a trade union organization?
We can't see Jivan properly, yes. We can't see him properly.
Yeah, what is our mission, fundamental mission as a trade union movement? One of it is to represent members, but increasingly we are seeing that particular aspect taking a different shape, wherein now the principle of lawfare is being applied across the board. And perhaps it could also be encouraged by the other unions that are coming into the scene, where you'll have some of the rival unions that from the word go, they want to use people like institutions that are run by lawyers and the like. So I think that kind of capacity that we need to build in the members is for them to understand the terrain through which we understand, through that particular aspect of leadership development in the union, so that we can have a union and members and leaders that are fit for purpose and that can be able to respond to the various needs that our members are doing. And indeed, as a trade union movement, we cannot afford, GS, President, to take the route that every now and then our grievances should be resolved to the court systems. It is very expensive kind of a process, and we can mitigate it by building capacity within the union. I know we've got a decision that says we should also consider having legal people in the union wherein they can be able to assist. I think we're talking about that kind of a decision in our last conference and the like. So I think we need to build on those things so that much of work can be done inside the union as opposed to being done by lawyers outside the union. Thanks.
Thank you. That's been well peculated. Thanks, Murwa. Thanks, Murwa. Now, can I bring on the Western Cape? Western Cape, now that Comrade Chubane has speculated things, can I bring you, Comrade Western Cape? 2 minutes to you, Western Cape. Western Cape, you have a program of bringing in the young workers. What are the two most important things we can learn to increase the numbers, in particular recruiting the young workers? You call novice teachers. So can you come in, Western Cape? Over to you.
Good evening, GS and fellow members of the NEC and all
Wow,
the
you look so handsome. What are you using to deal with your hair?
And young, GS.
I am a young Generation Z, therefore it may be the fresh air in the Western Cape, but thank you for the compliment. Comrades, let me start by saying happy birthday, SADTU, and may you have a fantastic 30th anniversary. We are all proud to be part of SADTU members, and I may look young, but I was at the launch conference at ShareWorld in 1990, where the late President Comrade Madiba spoke. So when we speak about young workers, we need to introduce young workers to the culture of the organization. But young workers are also techno-savvy, and they like to be invited via social media platforms. So we use the day by inviting them via the SADTU app, and we're encouraging everybody to download the SADTU app of both Western Cape and National, and before long other provinces, where we invite the young workers to come there. But we attract them by a number of activities, which is intermittent with training and teaching young workers about leave measures. How do you apply for leave? What is your conditions of service? We also speak about your pension, what has SADTU offered you. But we also invite our service providers to exhibit on that day. What we make extra fun is by providing a DJ at that particular event, because our young workers love to have some music. We have some prize stands, we have some selling of cool drinks and refreshments. And between the short presentations, we actually allow the workers to actually visit the stands, visit the government employee pension fund, GEMS, and all other providers. And we have spot prizes on that particular day. You will not believe that on such a day, we recruit approximately between 200 and 300 new workers, but we also provide a service for SACE, where we actually get young workers to register and obtain the certificates. Lastly, we also invite the ELRC, who tell us about the benefits the ELRC presents. So that is our strategy to attract young workers. Thank you for the opportunity. And once again, happy birthday, SADTU. May you be as young as the Provincial Secretary of SADTU, and may you have a long life. Amandla.
Baie dankie, meneer. Baie dankie. And thank you so much. Yes, happy birthday to SADTU. Happy birthday. Yes, young workers. GP, Gauteng. You see, I would have said that you are the host, but now today you are not the host, because the host is the air. It's a webinar. Under normal circumstances, would have said, can the host welcome us when we are celebrating our 30th anniversary? Gauteng, great R. That NDP puts it as the anchor for any quality education. You have done some work around ensuring that the great art teachers do not receive the salary that belongs to the monkeys. In other words, peanuts. Can you tell us in 2 minutes, how can we learn and what more can we do to ensure that we are able to address this critical area, given the fact that they are not in the formal sector, there's no law that governs them, and therefore every department does as they wish, and this is very important. Gauteng, what two things can we learn from you? Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade President, and the entire National Executive Committee, including the former leaders and members. No, General Secretary, we have been operating within serious constraints to try and address the plight of our great art practitioners. The first achievement that we have made was to ensure that those who obtain their great art teaching diploma are recognized by way of getting a salary equivalent to a new entrant into the system. This we did recognizing the limitations of scope in relation to national policy in relation to this particular matter. But because we are in constant touch with the great art practitioners through our regionally coordinated meetings, we have had to put this matter before the chamber and insist that the employer recognizes at least those who would have attained a great art teaching diploma. But we still have some challenges in relation to those who do not have a diploma, but are within the system. The union should ensure that all those who are in the system benefit from capacity building programs from the employer to ensure that their experience is recognized and push them towards attaining a formal qualification so that they also can be able to be recognized properly. We must work harder at the level of the ELRC to ensure that policy processes governing great art practitioners are finalized, because that remains a hindrance towards totally getting formal recognition of our great art practitioners who work so hard, Comrade GS, to ensure that the foundations are laid, to ensure that our learners are able to progress to other grades through to grade 12. And we think that we need to change tune and put a lot of our energy and resources into the ELRC and ensuring that all those policy processes are finalized so that we're able to build a very firm foundation in the system. In the absence of such a foundation, we'll always cry foul. You see departments having SEEP interventionist programs, which are basically crisis-driven. We can avoid that if we lay a strong basis at the level of grade R so that we don't pump money into the last years of learners to try and get them to pass grade 12, because that's not educating them, that's teaching them to memorize and just exit the system. And once they are in HEIs, they begin to struggle to cope at that particular level. So we should be able to put more energy into this matter and ensure that our system is able to build a very strong foundation at that particular level. We will be assisted by policy formulation processes nationally so that we are able to do this thing across the country. Thank you, Jess.
Dade ke a o leboha haholo mngodi, ke o leboha haholo, and re tshwantse re hae mane Lesotho. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes, yes.
Now, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Building a strong education, start at the foundation. We need 3 years of preschool to ensure that our learners are prepared for the future. No more investment in grade 10, grade 12, because we shall have done the investment at the beginning of the formative education of grade R. Thank you so much. Now we want to move towards the coast, Eastern Cape. Eastern Cape, you are a rural province. And what can we learn in terms of what you have done now being a rural province and being able to write examination in isiXhosa. Can you tell us? Because that is what the Deputy President was saying, that we need to ensure that mother tongue is really entrenched, because we need scientists, and we can only do that when we learn through mother tongue. How did you do it? Talk to us in this 30 years of our existence. Over to you, Eastern Cape.
GS, the President, and the entire entourage of our guests, including the Honorable President of the country, the general membership of SADTU and the leadership included, greetings this late evening. GS, to be precise in terms of what have we done differently as the Eastern Cape, we have pondered about this for quite some time, making sure that we are not deprived the right to education in the first place, and trying to prepare the ground for our children to find it comfortable and befitting for them to be in that space using a language that is theirs. Correctly so, as we time and again say, yes, the education is not neutral. We have learned with great pain that some other nations have been deprived the opportunity to learn in their own mother tongue. So we vouched as Eastern Cape that this does not befall our own children. They learn in the language that they understand. And the apartheid system has made us to be more vigilant on the ground, because we have learned with dismay that when these kids write examinations, they would be unfairly disadvantaged, because others would have a privilege of writing the paper in Afrikaans, others would have a privilege of writing it in English, which they both call English their mother tongue, others call Afrikaans their mother tongue. But in terms of isiXhosa, our children would be expected to first think in isiXhosa, trying to conceptualize even the question itself that is asked in English, which is a foreign language to them. And even during their lessons, you would find there has to be code switching from English to isiXhosa for better comprehension. So as this province, we stood firmly to say, not during our tenure, not again shall this befall our children. Now that we are in a better position to turn things around, let's see the change that we time and again speak of. Not theorize too much anymore. Let's implement so that we are able to say in few years to come, here is the crop that we have sowed, in terms of making sure that there is fair analysis even of results, because there is that tendency in our country of wanting to compare the previously disadvantaged children with those who have been privileged, who have benefited in terms of Afrikaans and English, whilst our own children had been thriving and their teachers have been teaching tirelessly to equal that kind of it, which is unfair, GS. But as Eastern Cape, we have made it sure. So the first product we'll be writing come this December, and we are eager to see what will be the final outcome of that, where fairness would be at play in terms of language. Because that GS6 to further enhance in the minds of many that let's not look down upon our mother tongue, because some other nations have lost their identity in terms of language. It's only now that they are trying to come back. For argument's sake, some they have lost it to English, others they have lost it to French, etc. So we are refusing as the Eastern Cape, having emulated some lessons from the frontier wars, as Eastern Cape is popularly known of the wars of resistance. So when you tamper with the Eastern Cape people, they fight endlessly till their ideal situation is realized. So we are taking that battle now not into the society, but right into the classroom, so that at the end of the day, when we look back, we are proud to say we indeed made a change and made an impact. And here are the children who have prospered through our endeavors as this great and giant union. Thank you very much.
Ndiyabulela kakhulu Ndlovu, ndiyabulela mntakwethu, ndiyabulela. Language is wealth. Language is power. When you want to divide the people, you use language to divide them. You weaken them, and therefore they have self-hate because they think their language is inferior. When you walk around and you take the blind people and then say, can you explain to me how does a football look like? Another one is going to say it's round. The other one is going to say it's a circle, until they touch it and until they feel it. Then they'll say, that's the power of language. Now, I want to read one comment, which is very important from our education activist, Hendrik Makaneta. Now, he says, on behalf of the Education for Social Justice Foundation, we salute SADTU on achieving the 30th anniversary milestone. Thank you, SADTU, for being a force of reckon within the highly contested terrain of education. You began with a humble background, and now you are the biggest union in the country. SADTU, you are the biggest inspiration. Words cannot express how much we love you, SADTU. Happy birthday. Thank you, Comrade Hendrik Makaneta, for the message of solidarity and congratulations. Now I move to have a conversation of 2 minutes with the Free State, the only state that is free, except that it is in the news more often for some other reasons, however, not in SADTU. Now, Free State has been very instrumental in the organization and building of SADTU, but also in this particular 30 years is one of the provinces, just like the Eastern Cape, where we were seeing some tendencies of people wanting to change the character of our organization and making it what it is not. Like Comrade Tula said, professionalism was about transformation, and therefore we needed to do that. But what the Free State is doing is saying our contribution to the national democratic revolution, it is going to be us empowering the young women in terms of their program. 2 minutes. What 2 things can we learn from the Free State around this very important program within these 30 years of our existence? Comrade in the Free State, over to you.
No, thanks, GS, and the listeners who are mainly our members. And our entry point on this particular issue that, let me unmute, GS. Oh, I forgot to unmute the video. Yes.
Always forget, and I understand why you forget, you know.
Now you can see me, GS. No, our entry point, GS, on this particular matter of young women, it's informed by the reality that as an organization, we are aging in terms of the membership, whilst at the same time, we have more of our members being women. And looking at the history where we're coming from, which is still with us in terms of the women development, even in taking key position in government, anyway, in the society. Then as the province, we felt that it's important that whilst we are not leaving other members of the organization that are male behind, we then said, let's focus on this particular challenge that is facing our organization of trying to bring in young women in particular to deal with the imbalances of the past. And then we then say, let's have a program that will try to attract these young women into our organization. And our focus point at that time was the women, we refer to it as the Young Women Brigade, where we bring these young women of 35 years and younger together. And we took them through a 3-year kind of a program where we have the block sessions, interacting with them, dealing with many issues, the issue of patriarchy, the issue of leadership, the challenges that they are confronting on daily basis, having to be in the organization, some being the leaders, while at the same time having to perform some of their responsibilities at home. Then we came with that particular program, which has proved to be very successful, because some of the young women that we have actually taken through that particular program have actually graduated even in the organization. Some have taken the leadership and in their work environment. Some have even graduated to take leadership position in schools, in the department. So that is actually helping us a great deal as the organization. And young women are also coming in, even young men are also coming in the organization. And yes, we must indicate that this program has even extended to other positions, like even in the full-time shop steward, we're beginning to see young women starting to take leadership in terms of being full-time shop steward and doing well in representing members. And even some men are there, of course. And that shows that this program, if as an organization we can invest in our young teachers, then at least for the future of the organization, will not be struggling to when we leave this organization. So that is what we have done, because we even extended even to have program, because we engage, we interact with them, and then to what we call the beauty contest, which of course comprise of both men and women. You see, so
That's loved by the General Secretary. Where is he? Beauty contest. We must put him there.
Yes, yes. So those are the programs that, of course, are the brainchild of our young workers, both men and women, who say we want to have a stake in the organization. We want to have a say in terms of what program that the organization can do for us. And there are some more of young women and young men coming that will be introducing as the organization moving. But of course, yes, we are balancing even those who are still loyal, been there in the organization for a very a long time, so that there is that a particular balance, because for the young workers to grow in the organization, we need the experience of those who have been nurtured through the ranks of the organization for a very long time. So we are making that particular balance, and that is what we think will take us forward as the organization, investing in our young workers.
Invest in the young, invest in the future. Building an organization must be organic. So we've got to do that. And thank you so much. Message o tswang Lesotho kwana hore hey bathong ha re sebetseng le bondade le ba o monaka le bondade jole he hande ki move ke kwana KwaZulu-Natal. Let me bring the kingdom. Can I have a conversation with the kingdom in 2 minutes? You have 2 programs, and we just want you to share with us how we grew from nowhere to 60,000. And in particular, we would want you to share with us and the members broadly about student chapter and the principal in terms of what you call matric intervention. Very important. 2 minutes to you, KZN. Thank you so much.
Thank you, GS, and greetings to all the comrades who have joined this celebration. Indeed, we are saying happy birthday, SADTU. You know, GS, as SADTU in KwaZulu-Natal, we take cue from the Vision 2030 of the Union, which has these pillars, and I want to focus on two, the first two. Firstly, being the servicing of union members, and secondly, the creation of a learning nation. Understanding where we come from as this organization, as we all have listened to Comrade Thulas Nxesi, for example, reminding us that SADTU is a product of struggle in South Africa. And ours is not just about the salaries or the salary increment, but it's about making improvements and meaningful improvements in the lives of the people. Having said that, I want to talk firstly about the matric intervention. When we say we want to create a learning nation, it is based on the understanding that we have the capacity as the union. But for us to be able to do that is that the union in the province has to analyze the results in the province and identify those disadvantaged schools and say, how can we partner with them so that we assist them in improving their results. And when we assist schools, we know very well that we are contributing to the betterment of the families, betterment of the society, and the betterment of the whole country, as education is identified as a tool that can be used to even better the economy of the country, thus increasing jobs. Having said that, GS, with this matric intervention, as we train our principals, as we train our teachers in different subjects, and make sure that it is not about us as the leadership of the union, but we understand that the union itself, SADTU, has invested a lot in its members. We tap from that investment, and that is why we have a team that is leading, and it is free from us as leadership in terms of the decisions, the programs. We deliver material, we develop the material, we use our resources, we form partnerships with different organizations that have the same vision, and as a result, we've seen the results of the province improving year in and year out. Now, moving to the issue of the student chapter. But maybe before I get to the student chapter, you have asked how. I think you are saying, how have we managed to grow the organization, especially in the province of KwaZulu-Natal? Understanding the difficulties as part of our history, as we are making reflections today, we all know the difficulties that our leaders then encountered when trying to make inroads in the province. Comrade Duncan, as our leader then, I think today, he must be reminded of those meetings that they held in Ulundi, trying to engage for the recognition of this union in KwaZulu-Natal, where many teachers who had associated with SADTU were killed, where many teachers who associated themselves with SADTU were dismissed and chased away from communities. And SADTU in KwaZulu-Natal had to compete in the space with a union that was already more than 50 years. But today, GS, as we are more than 60,000, even we have doubled that number of the national when SADTU was launched. We are more than 60,000. It's because of the work that the organization has been doing all over the years, making sure that we portray ourselves in a manner that the society itself can associate with this progressive union. We've never tried to run away from the principles that build us. We have made sure that we do not deny when we are told that we are too political. It is because of how we were conceived as this union. So we have managed through the programs that we implement. When we service union members, what we do, we say those that have joined the union, they are retained. They find a reason to stay with this union. But at the same time, as we continue to service our members through coming with new strategies, and we become innovative in terms of the programs that we keep on introducing, new programs, by the way, we, in the process, attract new members. You see, as we have this more than 60,000 members, we've made inroads. People have moved away from their own unions to join this union that today is celebrating 30 years. So it is clear from what I have said that our union, as it is progressing, as you all know that in 2010 we adopted the Vision 2030, and when we implement our Vision 2030 as the union, I always say we have the responsibility as today's leadership to implement the Vision 2030, which to us is a dream of the union. And when we do that, we assist the leadership of the union in 2030 that will be accounting on what we have done by that time. So we have said we need to building capacity in the union so that we also have capacitated people who understand the SADTU, who will be productive even at the level of the classroom. We have decided as the union in the province to implement the decision of the union to form the student chapter. Student chapter organizing those student teachers in universities, sharing with them the information about the workplace. And when we do so, we prepare them for the realities of when they come to our schools, not to practice, not to be doing teaching practice, but coming to join the workforce. So when we do that, other people may think that we are focusing on recruitment, but it is more about our commitment as the union to say, when we were being launched in 1990 and adopting the constitution of the union, we said we commit ourselves in dealing with all the injustices of the past, any form of discrimination, and also deal with any education policy that is taking us back to those times of the apartheid, and we are viewing ourselves as such as the machinery for the transformation agenda. So even those that have not joined the workforce, they must be prepared to understand the struggles so that they connect the struggles of the workplace and the student struggles in the institutions of higher learning. So with that, GS, I can say that the programs, all of them, the student chapter, the matric interventions, they all become part of that implementation of the Vision 2030, servicing of our union members, which assist in growing individual members, so that we have a cadre of the union that understands the union that the person is a member of, understanding the vision of the organization. And I believe, GS, as we are reflecting today, and as we'll be starting tomorrow, the 31st year, we'll be saying one day in the 31st year, it is important that as part of our reflection, we say what programs are necessary for this union to continue building cadres, those new members that are joining the union, so that we have members that understand, members that are able to defend their union. It's very important. And I think that we must invest on ordinary members down there at the level of the schools, as well as the site executive committee. Thank you.
Siyabulela Mamqwabe, sibulela kakhulu Mamqwabe. Now let's go to Mpumalanga. Mpumalanga, let's converse with you very briefly. Trade union and political education, transforming quantity into quality. How do you do that at the same time having to develop this quality so that we are able to fight corruption in order to benefit our children? So Mpumalanga, can you converse political education? Is it important? Trade union education is something that we can really look forward to in terms of us being able to build this particular quality teacher and a revolutionary teacher to really not smile but frown on corruption. Mpumalanga.
Thank you, GS. Let me greet the president of the union and all national office bearers, and also greet my fellow NEC members and the members of the union who are part of this discussion today. We want to first begin by saying that political education is quite crucial, because when you create a new cadre, or when you create a qualitative cadre, that cadre must be imbued with knowledge and understanding the intricacies of the ideological terrain in which we are struggling in. Secondly, I think that most people, if they did not have or belong to any organization or did not have political education, they will naturally be inclined to criminality and immorality. And only through political education and through the trade union education, people are becoming now inclined to have what we call consciousness, and therefore are able to distinguish between what is wrong and what is right. And I believe that the majority of people who are now who are embarking on, who are doing this corruption thing, who are looting state resources, and they know the difference between wrong and right. Most of them know that this is something they should not be doing, because they have that consciousness. It simply means that when a person has political consciousness and ideological consciousness, it not necessarily stop them from looting. So what do you need then to ensure that things go your own way? Number one is that you build a cadre, and the cadre, when they go into service, they are oriented to become people who concentrate on or focus on service delivery, like we've indicated here. So when you create, for example, a teacher, a member of the union, a branch leader, you create somebody who has consciousness, who's able to be able to know that I must serve the community, teach the learners. When you take that person to become a DCS or a CES, and when they arrive there, they should know that their primary objective is to service and therefore transform the education system. And they should not be inclined towards wanting to line their pockets. Now, the union has a problem in the sense that for ideological and fundamental reasons, the union is part of SADTU, which is in alliance with the African National Congress. And therefore, there are always perceptions of complicity in corrupt activities. When people in the ANC get accused of corruption, even people who are outside government, people like us in the union movement, get accused that were part of these processes. And therefore, it's up to us really to speak out against corruption at all levels. But we must also embolden the president and the good African National Congress to be able to take steps against people who are corrupt. We should not be afraid to confront those who are rotten amongst ourselves, because when we do that, it will assist. Because I know that corruption within the union itself is not tolerated. We have a lot of oversight measures that assist us so that we don't have these corrupt practices within the union. But inside government, we are not there, and we should embolden people who are inside government to be able to take steps against people who steal or loot government funds. Now, lastly, we think that at some point we should be able to depoliticize procurement. Take out the regional executive committees from instructing mayors what to do. Take out the provincial executive committees from instructing premiers on who to give tenders to. Once you depoliticize that way, we are sure that a lot of the corrupt activities that we see will diminish. And happy birthday to SADTU, 30 years of struggle, and we are hoping for 30 more years and even more of still more struggle by this glorious movement called SADTU. And we thank you, GS.
Kensel ngwana mane kensel ngofsnene barukwaro tsugarnash bungandeni. So you are saying that even if you have trained this person, given them political education, if they are not cadres, you have not transformed them into cadres, they will still be tempted to steal. Yeah, thank you so much, Mwanamake. Kensel ngofsnene. Now, violence in schools. Northern Cape, our school, I am a school fan. How can we promote this program of the organization? We're doing this because we believe that we can resolve issues without violence. And what Comrade Walter has also said, as we build the cadres and we improve our education system, SADTU is against any person using its name to commit violence against other people. SADTU is against any other person to go and fight for position and putting yourself in position instead of looking at the members, like the president says, the member first. I'm a school fan. How can we promote it within our communities? It's because we are experiencing violence in our schools in the Northern Cape. Over to you, Northern Cape.
Yeah, thank you, GS, and good evening to the NEC members and members of SADTU who have joined. GS, we launched the I'm a School Fan campaign in the Northern Cape on the 29th of February when we were celebrating the anniversary, where we were saying in the launch that we teach, we care, and we denounce violence. So the way to deal with violence in our schools is that we engage all stakeholders, as we have invited them when we were launching this campaign, to say schools are societal institutions. So we invite all stakeholders to take part in schools and to make sure that schools become safe havens and learning of institutions. We also having GS EQLTC, which is our baby, which is having all stakeholders in the communities, that we need to make sure that they run also with the campaign of I am a school fan. We also GS need, because we think that is because the learners, especially in schools, they have lost morals and values. So we need to go back to basics where we teach our learners the morals, the values, so that they understand what kind of a learner we need to produce as teachers in schools. So with the campaign of I'm a School Fan, working together with QLTC, which is of course our baby GS, and all the stakeholders, I think we can be able to deal with the issue of violence. We also engaging the Department of Education in terms of the school safety that is there, that is not really assisting. So we are also in all our meetings campaigning for teachers to try by all means that we in our lessons as we are teaching, bring always this issue of morals, and that nothing can be resolved by violence, vandalism, and all those things. So that campaign of I'm a School Fan is very critical, and we need to make sure that it is a campaign that is run on a daily basis in our schools, in our community, with all the stakeholders that are involved in education. Thank you, GS.
Ndiyabulela mntakwethu, ndibulela kakhulu sisi wam. I'm a school fan. We teach, we care, we protect. Thank you so much. Let's move on and making sure that indeed our schools are safe and we build the characters in our children and build that resilience. We can be able to have a safe South Africa through our education. Thank you so much, Northern Cape. Thanks so much. Now, the last province is Bokone Bupirima, the province of the platinum. The province of the platinum. Now, province of the platinum. Now, we think it's important that we go back and say, how can we improve the teaching of mathematics in our schools? You have universities in Northwest that are training our teachers, and most of those particular universities are producing teachers at the master's level, at an honors level, and so forth. So how can you share with us how you can work with those universities to ensure that we are able to produce more mathematics teachers in this country? Of course, remember that Verwoerd said that a Black person or an African is not capable of doing mathematics and science, and it's not supposed to do that because it's not going to use them anywhere. And there we have that particular legacy of apartheid where we have not been able to produce a lot of teachers who can help us to teach mathematics, because we need to have IT specialists to address these issues of connectivity so that it's affordable and accessible to all our people. So can you take us through some of the programs that as the Northwest province you think can help us to deal with that? Over to you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you very much, General Secretary. The leadership of the National Executive Committee, all invited guest members that have logged in. We think as the union, one of the most important things that we must do is to establish collaborations with higher learning institutions, particularly our universities, in terms of the programs unfolding and making sure that they produce teachers who will be able to make sure that our learners in various institutions or schools in the province and in the country at large excels in mathematics. But one of the fundamental things that we need to deal with, I think, is to change the mindset. Because me and you will remember that there's always been a thinking that mathematics is a very difficult subject. And as such, there's an attitude in most of the learners migrating from your FET, from your GET into your FET. And also one of the main things that we need to work on is how we really make sure that our schools are not necessarily concentrating on only achieving excellent results by forcing learners to take mathematical literacy under the guise that mathematical literacy is much easier than mathematics. And in that, depriving the learners an opportunity to be able to make sure that because mathematics is a gateway to most of the subject and also career opportunities in our country, so that we're able to deal with the scarce skills that we find in our country. And therefore, it is very critical that we're able to deal with that particular aspect. The other important thing, GS, is that the issue of career pathing needs to be entrenched, because we have seen many excellent teachers very
progressive teachers in mathematics opting to take promotional positions within the schools and the department, only to realize that their expertise is no longer utilized to the best. So we think it is important that those particular teachers should remain within the specialization of their subject, but being able to be remunerated in a manner that will make sure that their expertise are able to be delivered to the learners. And lastly, we think as a union, through our teacher SADTU Ketis Nkondo development program, we also have to make sure that we develop programs that will assist our teachers across the country, and also make sure that we utilize even our retired teachers who will then be able to inculcate their knowledge to these particular learners and demystify that particular thinking that mathematics is a difficult subject. In that way, we think that we'll be able to make sure that majority of our learners are able to take mathematics and they're able to excel in that particular space. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Let me take this opportunity now to say the segment that was engaging and very interactive has come to an end. And clearly it is not because the issues we have been exhausted. It's just that because the time that we set up for ourselves has been exhausted. We want to hand over to the Vice President for SACOM, Comrade Nolita Mboniswa, to really thank all our members who have been able to follow us on Facebook Live, on YouTube, on Twitter, and all the other social media, and all our guests that have been here. Thank you so much, Comrade Duncan, for having joined. And thank you for the words from Comrade Funde in terms of the ECD and so forth, and all the other comrades that have joined us here. Let me now hand over with the last 2 minutes before we close to our Vice President. Vice President, over to you, Comrade Noleta. Thank the people for a wonderful webinar for a celebration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, GS, and the session. We have been tasked by the NEC of SADTU on behalf of the entire membership throughout the 9 provinces in the country, throughout the 52 regions in the country, throughout the 500 branches, the 270,000 plus members of SADTU who are found in all our sites, to rise and extend a word of gratitude to all those who have made this day this fruitful. The initial plan of this day was to celebrate it with all our members in a mass participation program through choral music. We had to turn our pages and write afresh due to the emergence of the global pandemic, COVID-19, which has caused so much pain and caused so many numerous deaths of our people the world over. And as a responsible union, we had to think otherwise, hence this virtual celebration. This day is taking place on the eve of the World Teachers' Day, which was yesterday. And when SADTU was formed in 1990, comrades, that founding conference or congress was addressed by the late statesmanship, Dr. Nelson Mandela, who gave SADTU such an enormous duty to become the beacon of hope in the country. And we must concede, President, and the entire session that nobody knew that we'll reach this milestone today. Hence, we are thankful of this day. We have been graced by the President of the country, the President of the Republic, the President of the ANC, and the Chair of the AU, President Cyril Ramaphosa. We do not take that for granted, that the President has graced this occasion. In fact, comrades, it signals and signifies the fact that the President values the teaching profession. It attests to the fact that he supports one of the key fundamental principles of the Union to ensure quality public education of our people the working class, the poorest of the poor, those who are found in the deep rural areas of our country and the deep township schools where the majority of our members teach. We believe that the president will go a long way to resolve some of the crises that we are having in the country, including the issue of the apparent threat against collective bargaining. He has promised us in this session that he will do anything and everything in his power to ensure that collective bargaining is restored. Secondly, we wish to extend our greatest word of gratitude to all the former members of SADTU, those who were part of the program and those who were joining the sessions throughout the media platforms for the work well done. Your role and your continuous involvement in the union has kept us going this far, and we're forever grateful for your continued life and your association with the union. To all the international organizations and the fraternal organizations led by the Education International all over the world, we thank you, comrades, for gracing this occasion. At all material times, we must continue to know, and we must be imbued by the fact that the provisioning and provision of education remains unequal, and it is segregated and divided the world over. And that we must know that education is still used to perpetuate all forms of inequalities in the country and the world. And therefore, we must join and hold our hands together and know that the struggle continues for quality public education, which will be accessible equally to all of our fraternal organizations, COSA, SASCO, SACP, COSATU. Comrades, we know that we have been together in the trenches. Even during this time, we are all going to go to the streets tomorrow on the 7th of October, 2020, to continue to wage our struggles for decent work, to continue to fight against corruption, against what the state is doing, fight against the threat of against collective bargaining. And we want to send a clear message to them all that workers lost their blood for the realization of these gains, and therefore will leave no stone unturned to ensure that our streets are full in red tomorrow and defend such gains. Our staff members, the country over, we have all come this far, comrades, and we can all go that far in defense of the union. We must thank you. Lastly, to all our SADTU members in the various platforms that have been mentioned in the country, you must always know and recognize the fact that SADTU, your union of choice, is your only solace. We must continue to work tirelessly to uphold the good name of the union. A good teacher teaches. A best teacher inspires. We have been deeply inspired, comrades, by all your efforts, despite all the trials and tribulations of our job. But you must always remember that the children of the poor, the children of the poorest of the poor depend on you to be educated and be learned leaders of tomorrow. And we have to implore you to go back to your trenches, conduct revision classes for all our children so that they pass or they make it towards the final exams. We know for a fact that, comrades, you will ensure that the matric results do not drop and this country will be taken forward. With those few words, we want to thank you all. Keep on keeping on. Amandla. Thanks, GS.
Thanks very much. Stay safe. Let's do it all. Wash your hands, sanitize, social distance, and let's be safe. We thank you. And as the host decide, would want now to end this webinar and say good night, happy birthday, and grow and continue to celebrate this milestone of 30 years as you build the organization. Amandla, good night.
Good night.
Ella,
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
Amandla.
Night, your comrades. Thank you, GS and everyone.
Thank
Night,
you.
all.
Good night, Amanda.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Amanda,
No.
advocate Amanda.
Good night.
Hey, Moto.
A chair from the kingdom. How are you, my chairperson?
I am good. How are you, brother?
I'm well, man. Can't complain. Can't complain, chair.
Man,
Yeah.
let's keep moving. We shall be meeting soon. I think.
We don't have
Thank
much
you.
of a choice.
Oh,
Thanks.
let's
Sure.
enjoy. Yeah? Salute. Thanks.
Let me end the meeting.